Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets, interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, welcome to Decorating Pages podcast. I am your host, Kim Wanup. How you doing? Are you ready for Christmas hiatus? I mean, it's already upon us, and I feel like I need a couple more weeks off than just these. I think we get 6 work days off. That's not enough. After just having off 7 months, a hiatus doesn't seem like 6 days. Plus, a holiday being on a Monday really kind of always screws you. Because you only get you work up until Friday. Hopefully you get a half day or something, but you only get the Saturday, Sunday, and then we go back the 2nd. I do know of some shows that are going back even earlier and coming back 27th, 28th. So I guess I'm lucky I get to come back in the new year. I mean, I know we all want to work. It's not that. It's mental. You need a mental break, even if the show is easy. There's just so much other personal stuff going on, and at the holidays, I just feel and it's a new beginning. It's a new year. You got to sit down. You got to make your vision board, right? That's what I do. So, yeah. And that chugging train of a shooting schedule just chugs on right into every year it ceases to amaze me of and we come back and we're on location. And we come back to 3 new sets. Or it just feels like it doesn't matter what show. You just always, first day back is always kind of a challenge. I don't know. I guess because they trust all the departments that it'll get done. And it usually does. So, yeah, that's, I hope everyone's ready for the holidays. What am I watching? I don't feel like I'm watching enough, to be quite honest. Although the season, and I think series finale, of Sister Wives aired this week, and woof. I mean, I can't. Anyway, so for production design contenders and awards season, trying to watch a lot of films that could be recognized. I watched Poor Things. Well, first of all, the production designer Shauna Heath, James Price, and then set decorator Suzusa, Zuza. Yeah, Souza. No, I can't say the last name. Mihalek. Milik. I don't know. What I saw of it looked very interesting for production design, but I'll tell you what, I watched it for about a half hour and I couldn't get through it. It was so uncomfortable. I mean, Emma Stone is very good in it. The makeup on Willem Dafoe is phenomenal. And, it's in black and white. And I hate that period in America, the late 1800s when they were experimenting on people. It just triggered a lot of things I don't like. And I was uncomfortable and I thought, I can't do this right now. So I'm going to get back to Poor Things. I'll cut back to you on this. I did watch The Color Purple, production designer Paul Asterberry and set decorator Larry Diaz. I mean, I love The Color Purple, and I actually just rewatched it recently because one of the production design film studies that hasn't aired yet, 1985, it was nominated, and I discussed it with production designer Adam Rao. But I watch The Color Purple at least once a year. So when I heard that they were doing this, I was like, ugh. But it's not, it's the music. It's a movie based on a musical, which I guess is a thing now with Mean Girls and things. So there are more musical numbers, and the story is expanded a little. You get to see Shug Avery's house. And I don't feel like they tried to recreate the movie at all. I'm sure they recreated the book, which I never read, but I think it was really well done if you're, a musical fan or a fan of the color purple, or even just love talent, because there's so much singing and wonderful choreography, and it's very well done, I would say, and I enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll get to talk to those people. Maybe, who knows? I watched Ferrari. Production designer Maria Jukovic, and production and set decorator Sophie Phillips. This movie about Enzo Ferrari and a period of his life um, really just makes you want to live in a villa in Italy. I mean, I don't know. Is it all there? I don't know what that is. Fantastic. I mean, it just makes you want to eat pasta. The story to me, Adam Driver's fantastic, I think. Um, Penelope Cruz, I guess I shouldn't say Adam Driver's fantastic. Penelope Cruz is fantastic as an Italian wife. Woof. She's really good. And the story to me, I got a little bored, and then something happens, and then I was in. And then I was like deep diving, Wikipediaing Enzo Ferrari. Like, so I definitely got educated in watching the film, and I really love the sets of them, the garages where they were building these old Ferraris and these old cars, and just the phases the other cars were in. I just thought that was, interesting and really great set dressing. So I would recommend that. Um, in my little Christmas world, we watched Christmas Carol from 1938, production designed by Cedric Gibbons and set decorated by Edwin Willis. Boy, I these older films, I just get blown away with what they achieved. 1938. Um, it's really good. I mean, it's a longer version of A Christmas Carol, which I liked, and the boys liked it. We all watched it. Black and white, beautifully done, all the sets and even the visuals and the ghost and all that. So if you're looking for, I don't know if you've seen it, but I never really watched that version. I really like the Mickey one. I like the Mickey and Goofy one myself. That would be my favorite Christmas Carol. But this one was pretty good, I must say, to put me in the holiday spirit. We watched Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life, which my husband loves and I do not. But so we watch a lot of Christmas stuff at night, I would say, with the boys. So let's see, this will probably be the last interview of the year, unless I get one more scheduled. But I think this is it. I'm not sure if I can squeeze that in. But next week, I'm going to release the production design film study of 1950 with set deck buyer Ethan Goodwin. And we discuss Sunset Boulevard. What a fantastic year, by the way. Sunset Boulevard, All About Eve, Annie Get Your Gun, Samson and Delilah, The Red Debonair, I think, and Destination Moon. I mean, what a year. We could have spent an hour just on Sunset Boulevard and All About Eve. Fascinating things that we discussed and dug up details and got some great set photos if you're watching the YouTube videos of this. So that will be out next Tuesday, day after Christmas, so a little Christmas prezzy. And not only is that maybe a little present for you, but it's a present for me because it is the 150th episode of this podcast. My goal for last year was to do 125. And so to get to 150, I really amaze myself. I cannot believe that I was able to do that. I would not have been able to do that if I was working. I know that. But not working made me have such a deeper passion for this podcast and educating of what we do and creating the production design film study series and having people reach out to me who want to be on the podcast or, want to give publicity to, clients or their projects. So I'm so grateful for people who have been on this podcast as guests, and especially to the audience. Thank you so much for a constant support of downloads and subscriptions and telling your friends and sharing it, and emails and people who tell me, hey, so and so was talking about your podcast. I didn't know you had that person on. It's so flattering. So thank you so much to everyone. I hope you have enjoyed this year. I cannot believe I did 50 episodes this year. I can't believe it. So if I take a couple weeks off, go back and listen to some. But in the next year, I still have 5 more of the production design film studies to release, and I already have an idea for the next series, which I think you'll enjoy. And I expanded to YouTube more this year, which I was pretty proud of myself for figuring that out. So yeah. But yes, again, thank you. But let's talk about this episode. In this episode, I speak with 2-time Oscar nominated set decorator Lee Sandals and 6-time Oscar nominated production designer Nathan Crowley. We deep dive into their experiences working on the whimsical film Wonka. Listen to how Nathan created a whimsical and immersive world with intricate details that Lee shopped all over Europe to find set dressing. He talks about that. And the joy and pain of having a set that is actually edible. I mean, the chocolate at the end, like his store, the flowers, they talk about maybe even trying to get grass edible. Oh, the tree, the bark, edible. They worked with a chocolatier. The director said he gained probably 50 pounds eating chocolate. So how can you not love this movie? It's just fascinating what they talked about with me, and um, just a meticulous process of crafting this fantasy set. I especially think this is a fantastic interview because they describe a lot of their process and location work and builds and timing of getting things to set and setting things up. So I was really happy with this interview in a sense of the description of the process of set decorating and production design. So I thank them so much for doing that. So I hope you enjoy.
We did a screening at Warner Brothers on the lot. I haven't been on the lot for a while since sort of pre-COVID, and it was fun. So it was nighttime. We were a bit early, so we went on a secret tour of Warner Brothers.
Oh, nice!
It's like, look at all these films, like The Big Sleep, and they're all on the outside. It's like it's got so much great history, that place.
Oh, I'm there. I'm there weekly, at least a couple times a week. I mean, it's one of the best prop houses we have. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the best, and they had so much Barbie stuff too. They're really hitting it out of the park this year, I gotta say. Like,
Yeah, it's like it's mad, but good for them.
yeah, making films is what we want. We want that.
Good movie anyway. We like good movies.
Yeah, good films, we should say. I thank you so much for giving me some time for this. My name is Kim Wanup. I'm also a decorator. I've been decorating almost 20 years, which I can't believe. But I'd have to first off say that it's a total pleasure to speak to you guys because your work is so influential and just amazing work in your careers. And I wish I had an hour with both of you just to talk about everything. But thank you, first off, for inspiring me. So thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering with Wonka, when you first heard about the project, were you a little standoffish to take on such a iconic project? I mean, I don't know.
Not at all. I don't know. I was sort of people ask me that a lot, and it's like I don't know. I'm sort of this weird sort of I guess it's naivety or optimism. For me, it was like it's Roald Dahl. I grew up with this guy.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a tiny kid, my mom used to read the books to me, and it was like it was brilliant. Like because it's part of the nostalgia of my childhood. So it was just, I mean, to be able to do Wonka was like, of course, and then even even more for me. It was like, oh God, I'm going to do something different, very different,
Very
and
different from your previous something
yeah,
happy, something a little light, a little happy.
yeah, and it opened a door for me. It really, I'd done The Greatest Showman,
Mm,
which was
fantastic.
struggle with budgets and with I think Fox were being sold at that time, and so I knew I really liked having a bit of fun with. I like musicals, which was a new thing for me. And then so after to Wonka, it was like, yeah, it's good. It's really good to be. I haven't sort of been stretched design wise since Interstellar,
Mm.
like that much. I mean, as terms of difficulty of design, I always put Interstellar as right over there with like, but I say Wonka is equal because it takes, you have to put on a creative head, and it just stretches you in all the good. As you get older in your career, you really want to get challenged.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
For me, I had come from the world of the Batman. Like literally, we had just finished over this dark world of Gotham straight into
Right.
Technicolor, and it was like you couldn't get something a bit different. And just like actually Nathan, when I was a kid, I was actually brought up on the Roald Dahl books.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the Twits and Danny Champion of the World. But I hadn't really strangely, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was the only one which I hadn't read. But the first time I was kind of exposed to it was the Gene Wilder movie, and and I love that movie, and I still love that movie, and I only wanted to be Veruca Salt. I just thought she was the best character.
Well, she got everything now. I want to, why not? Why not be that character?
I just wanted a golden ticket like every other kid.
Yeah, the golden ticket. It was so cute when I went to the screening. They handed out little golden tickets for like popcorn and everything. I was like, that is genius. That little
Yeah.
detail just makes you like excited to get into this theater. So, but Lee, you had also worked on the previous Wonka, so you've already had a little Wonka research, right?
Yeah, I was really lucky in my kind of career. I actually assisted Stephanie McMillan. I was her assistant for about 10 years, and I assisted Peter Young, who I did Charlie with, and that was a very different version of this.
Yeah,
I felt like that's more of a guest starring role, as but this was more of a starring role,
right.
and
Yeah.
it was and the only experience which was the same was that I came with a slight knowledge of what chocolate was and what candy was and what I should do to actually find things and colors, and that was a tiny bit of a leapfrog to actually kickstart the processes on this.
Mhm. I was reading that the director said he gained almost 50 pounds eating all the chocolate on the set. Like, um, were were there a lot of real chocolate around? I mean, I was assuming, yeah.
Ev-
Wow.
Everything which you see, which people eat, is all real. I mean, all of it is real, and everything which in the background is all real. I mean, we work with a chocolate maker called Gabriella, and we were intrigued by her because she just came with a kit of kind of ideas and concepts and
Mm,
just things that she could do, you know, um, and like the silver linings, the center of
right.
that is in fact a passion fruit with a popping candy center. So when it's in your mouth, it literally does explode
Wow.
and give you that light bulb moment.
I could see everyone at craft service just popping them. Like just
Gabriella
um
wouldn't give many people uh, chocolates. It was like you'd have to go at the end of the day and tap on the window, and she
right.
might open the window of her porta cabin, her chocolate making factory, and she might give you a chocolate if you're lucky.
Got it.
So,
Any rejects? I'll take all the rejects.
oh,
Oh,
delicious.
we had to go. We had to go to like the ads and just say to them, please remind the crew, don't eat any of the set dressing. I think we had to make up it had all been sprayed with a paint glaze with it, and it would make them sick. But honestly, the amount of stuff that just was eaten, the
Yeah.
sets, we had to keep on topping up the set dressing.
That
There's
is,
one way to get when we finish. There's one way to get rid of the set: is to eat it.
just eat
Yeah,
it.
just eat.
Just eat it. I've never, I mean, I constantly tell people not to eat on set. I constantly tell people to get their coffee cups off of set. So that's a new way to approach it. Just don't eat the set, which is fantastic. Um, you, it's not like a over your head musical, But the musical numbers that are in the film, especially like the last song, I teared up immediately hearing that Wonka song of like, oh. But did you have the music and lyrics in prep? Did you have all that?
Yeah,
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 you
we
did.
did. We were given all the work in progress of all the songs, and so every department could play the songs and get into it. You needed to play them constantly. I always remember I used to take my bike on the weekends around Hyde Park listening to A World of Your Own or
Right.
for a moment, you know. But they're very stirring. I really, they're stirring songs and they fit into this world. They fit into Pure Imagination pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
And and for a moment breaks your heart, you know, with
Oh,
the
yeah.
drop.
Yeah,
It's
I think each one is like an earworm. You know,
Mm.
one of the songs for me, which was the hardest, was working with Scrub on like the laundry,
Oh.
because we had to coordinate everything of the rhythm of the song, the lyrics of the song, to what the set dressing was, and the action of how that set dressing was actually used. So I think the first one is put oh, you scrub it in there. Was it scrub at the
with
top?
the mango.
I mean, it's not the mango. No, you put the apparel in the barrel. You put the apparel in the barrel, scrub, and you put the camise in the mango.
No,
I
you
can't remember now.
you
Right,
blocked it.
uh,
You blocked it out.
but it allowed us to set out what the set was actually going to be. Once Nathan had worked out all the architecture, I was able to set out what each piece of the set dressing would actually be in line with the song, so that it would all marry. You know, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would assume that you would have had that music first because I was like, oh, if they had the set and then they came in with that song, I'd be like, oh no, like where are my
Those
scrub
bit
panels?
involved, like, you know, sets take their time to make and we sort of feel them out and, you know, construction is a long time. So you'd all get together and you know, people could come in and look at the space as it was being made.
And evolve from
The
that.
shop and look at all the props and the set dressing. And so it's a very sort of fluid movement through all the shops of the sets. So everyone, everyone could come and make changes and adjustments. And we sort of understand as the art department, things develop,
Yeah.
dance numbers change, and you have to sort of go with the flow.
Yeah. We're always in it for changing. Um,
Yeah.
how much prep did you have for this? Do you remember?
I can't actually remember. I remember, you know,
20 odd weeks, maybe
yeah, I
22.
mean, we built the back lot. It's a big build. We built all that back lot to 35 feet, which,
Mm.
and then the galleries were built to a little bit higher than 35, so we could get as much in camera uh, as we could and give enough information through texture, paint, lighting to visual effects, so they knew how to top it up.
Mhm.
And they had good reference. So we went high, and the other big reason for doing it is we wanted to put the whole cast in the whimsical world of Willy Wonka, which
Yeah, really immersed in there. Like it's just a whole nother world you've created. It's fantastic.
you have to be seamless because it's like I like to be in the cinema and I don't want to be jarred in any way. So you have to. It's a very sort of fine line.
But you also have to be grounded in the reality of, like, you know, of a period somewhere between the 30s and the 40s. We really wanted to have that period nature to it.
Which I
Yeah,
which I sorry, which I saw a lot in the furniture and like the Slugworth and the layer that they have down there and that like sort of deco look that you have in there or it's beautiful, beautiful furniture.
Thank you. Well, actually, the sofas were actually a leather camelback,
Ooh.
and but the back of it was so exaggerated. It looked like a ripple of chocolate, and they were just like a lucky find, you know. And they went and they were like this amazing rich chocolate color. I went, those sofas look like they look like chocolate. They'll be perfect.
Lee would call me from his markets and go, "I think I found the problem." So they're like chocolate. And it was like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like,
Just feeling everything. Does it feel like chocolate? Yeah, I'll take it.
yeah, you because you were in the process in your mind, you'd call me quite often and be like, and you got to like, wherefore?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
All night of racing, and it was brilliant. Those phone calls are funny.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, like it's kind of like you have to try things out, and actually sometimes things work, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And Nathan and I, we like to, part of the process which I've worked out with him is showing him things really early, and I like to prep things really early in like the prop room and in the workshops, and assemble the sets there so I can work out whether things are definitely going to work or not. Because now when you have to install on like a set, we're always the last team in,
Yep.
so we get them, the least amount of time.
Yeah.
So I always like to know that I've got most things covered, so there's no surprises, but it also means that like Nathan and Paul can come in and comment and help me, or I can help them, and we can work out whether is that surfer going to be used, on, by like a dancer? Is it going to be, sat on, so, for someone to sing? Is it going to be moved about the set? You can answer all those questions by doing things early on, but you can only do things early if I know what Nathan's doing. And Nathan is the same as me. He likes to work ahead
Yeah.
and in advance of things. So everyone's processes helps one another, So.
I think for us, I mean, Lee's shop was excellent because we'd mark out the set. Sometimes we'd even do some plywood cutouts to understand the
Mhm.
space, and we sort of dress it and play with it and sit with it. Because I think I don't, you have no time when you go on to set when we finally finished it. So if you haven't thought it through and it doesn't work, it's very hard to then watch the film because all I see is that day that didn't
Well,
work.
yeah.
In a weird way, it throws me out of the film, and I don't want to be thrown out of the film. 'Cause
Well, yeah. It is kind of magical when and I think about it all the time in talking with people and in my day to day of how many people it takes to communicate, to get everything done, lighting, wardrobe you're working with, especially on something like this, and us and construction and paint and everything. It is pretty magical that it all comes together and we're all on the same page. Well, hopefully we're all on the same page.
I would say if you had never been to like a film set and you arrived and you looked into the world, you'd think it was utter chaos.
Yeah.
But actually, inside the world, it works like a clockwork thing,
Yeah.
and everyone knows what everyone's doing, and it just always happens. S- like in the last few hours or days, when it all completely comes actually together, and you go, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah, it's all there. Look, it all worked out. Except for that one thing. Don't tell anyone. I'll be right back. So
I mean, I really like the chaos and because you have to work with this sort of gut feeling about everything, and you have to respond. And there's a rhythm to visiting different shops at the right time, and you go down there, and it's like, okay, yeah, just take a left here, take a right here, and
yeah.
just change it a little bit. And it's my favorite thing to do is to walk around all the shops all day when we're building.
Oh,
Because catch stuff. You've got sculptors, you've got everyone. We've got painters, we've got material testing leads, prop makers. I mean, the crew is vast on these kind of
oh
builds.
yeah, I'm sure.
I
And
it's like it's you just learn to trust everyone around you. I often see myself more like a shepherd, just herding the flock rather than
You are a shepherd on your day off.
yeah, got some sheep back there.
Hold up. He was a shepherd in his early life.
Oh my God.
Were you there to look after everyone as well?
That was your training for set decorator, sheep herder.
Yeah, so who's the wolf?
Ooh, every project has a wolf, don't you think? um, the architecture and the creation of this whole like town that you created, even through like having the church and then the town square and the fountain and everything. What was your inspiration for that?
I mean, I think it started with the script and the journey to the town. So I kind of
Or the
knew
build?
that
Yeah.
I needed to figure out the geography of the town first. Like we arrive on boat, and I always loved Lyme Regis in the south of England, which has this beautiful old cob, which is the sea wall. It
Mm.
curves around. There's a few scenes that we shot actually down there. So I knew I had the harbour, and then I just had to figure out the shape of the city, the town, and then from that, it was really going into Europe and thinking, I need a bit of this. I need a bit of Prague. I need a bit of Budapest. I need a bit of
Cafe culture.
Mm.
Oxford and the best of Europe. And then of course you have to like architecturally meld them together, which you can't have a cuckoo clock sitting on Mr. John Natch's terrace, Georgian terrace. So it was really about finding a balance, which kind of flowed. We knew we needed curves on that town square because we needed to romanticize it. So we needed a curved street, we needed a curved colonnade, because otherwise it gets too hard.
Right.
And then we have to expand that because you can't just be on a back lot and get claustrophobic. So we went out to locations. So each direction, and we used to call it, it's like, oh, that's the Oxford Arch. We'd frame each exit with an arch. And I say to Leo, let's go down the Oxford Arch because that takes you to Oxford.
Yeah.
Well,
It was-
you're going to
Simplified it.
And as Nathan was going through all this, I was going off, to antique markets in Northern England, and Kate Venner and I, who I work with, we went over to Europe. We went to Holland, we went to Belgium, we went to France, we went to Paris, and we shopped there, and then we brought everything back,
Wow.
and then and we worked with each window of each shop on the set, and then we dressed it accordingly, hope within its period and context. And because it was an outdoor set, we both felt like rentals wouldn't be a good idea. It's bound to get damaged.
Right.
And because the set was so big, we had to go and get a lot of stuff. So not too much stuff, but just enough.
Well, is it now I'm blanking on it, but the scrub it and bleachers. That is like jam packed with dressing. Like that whole wall behind her of like the packages and the letters and the paper and everything. That is such an amazing set. And also I want to ask about the lighting and how you guys integrated the lighting in the sets and all that. But I love that set. I love the tone of it. I thought it just
I think
awesome.
the overall lighting, which and then we have practical lighting, we purposely we put in those skylights. We try to force the light from above. I mean, in the actual laundry is easy because it was supposed to be underground in the catacombs. So we knew we had to. But in the main shop, it was lovely to have some of that. So it was really a Parisian image from Adjet's photographs at the turn of the century, where you get all these skylights, and that allowed us to then fill the walls of bookcases and stuff because we have skylights above. And then on top of that, Lee would then push in all the practicals. God knows where you got all those from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around Europe.
Yeah. Do you know what? When you were thinking about that shop, actually, Nathan, the counter, when we were working at the size of the counter, there's a, I mean, and I think I offered something up, and you said no, bigger, 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 and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But I was like, I was saying, how the hell are we going to get in at the set? But our carpentry shop actually built it for us.
Built it, yeah.
But I started buying so much stuff, for that. Like you ended up actually extending like the shelving all the way to like the ceiling and making it wider. And we used everything in there. We found all these period laundry boxes and like linen towels and French linens, and then we bound it all actually together, and then a graphics team tabbed it all. And it actually made like this really beautiful, like it was like a 3D wallpaper.
Yeah. And the aging on it and everything was fantastic. The paint department was fantastic, and I'm sure aging all of your stuff. It was
Yeah,
great.
and you sort of sit there. We always say there's a process. You have to like part of building a set is sitting there with it and adapting it and changing it and art directing it and set decorating it and playing with it. So you play, the painters are great. It's like, no, that aging doesn't work. I mean, I think we changed tonally that set quite a few times. We've got to get the warmth in, but at the same time, we still got to get the decay in. Uh, and then with Lee was working on the giant laundry wall, which actually became the architecture, which I really like. I like it when it's like you get said decorating that is the
Just one
architecture.
thing.
Right.
Just the one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's all
And then there's so many there's so much movement in the sets, like pushing them down the chutes, or when he's in the streets and has to go down the tunnels and everything. There's such an element to that that you've created this, like, there's always like a getaway path, or there's always like a spiral he's falling down or something, which is so whimsical and so Wonka. It was fantastic.
It's so important to me that you have transitions between sets and you film them, even if they're pauses, because you know it's really important that, and it goes back to the audience not questioning it and just
Yeah.
focusing on the characters, and we go in silently a little way. But because we've worked out how to transition between sets and places, and whether they end up in the edit is another thing. So rather than just cutting from the town square to bleachers, you got to show that journey to, it's like, oh yeah, you go down that car, you go down that alley to get to bleachers, and then of course you go over that bridge, and then
Right.
to get to the secret lair, you go to St. Paul's and get in the confessional booth, which is a bit tricky, and then you go down.
Yeah.
You know, that actually helped me massively because Nathan, one of the first things which he did was to work out all the geography of the town and the relationship between the cob and at the town square, and at the gallery with then Oxford and Bath. And so we knew exits and kind of entrances. And when we knew all that, you kind of knew what the whole world was, and you could have a complete arc over the whole thing,
Right.
and that was hugely helpful.
Well, it also gets us more into the understanding of what I'm decorating, like the
Yeah.
space that I'm decorating. Oh, this makes sense. That it's over here. Like this is where we're going. This is what do we need to get there? Would they use a bike? Do they people have bikes on the streets, or wagons or whatever? So I love all the
Well,
streets. I mean, they're
well,
fantastic.
one of the hardest things was because it was we were making this film literally just towards the end of COVID,
Mhm.
and trying to source certain things was really hard. One of the hardest things was actually all like the lighting, all the Victorian street lights,
Oh
you
wow.
know, and all the lanterns that ran around each set because we had the back lot actually standing, but we had all the locations, so we were doubling up on absolutely everything. I think we cleared out nearly everywhere across the UK. If you wanted like a Victorian lantern, you could not get one because we
Got
had
it.
them.
Wonka has it. Wonka's got it all. And then don't when you're done with it, I know this is this always breaks my heart when I'm done and you're just like, does anybody want to take this? Because I need this circulating like any prop house, and they're all at capacity at this certain point. And you're like, can somebody take this so I know where it is? Like,
Well, do you know what Warners are really good? They generally keep everything, and then you can reuse it on
yeah,
like another film. Because
yeah.
I think some of the flowers that were in the back lot, okay, we actually came from Batman. So
So then you knew, see? But then that's
there's a flower somewhere.
yeah, and that's it. Like, I just bought these flowers on my last project. Where are they?
No, I absolutely hate waste, and
Yeah,
it's really good that as much as is recycled as possible now. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. um, the The actual streets though, did you cobblestone the streets?
Yeah.
Like, how was that? And then awful for set dressers, I'm sure. Like,
we, you know, they stamp them. So you
yeah,
pour concrete, and you stamp the cobbles, and it's bad for dancers and it's bad for vehicles, but it looks great. So
yeah,
you have to.
it does
So
look
it's
great.
always a balance. Like some of it isn't cobble, but we hide with snow so the dancers can operate. And then the cobbles, you need the cobbles because there's a lot of looking down,
Oh
top
yeah,
shot, and then there's nothing without them. So you have to like, and then often you have to fill the cobble grouting high for dancers, and we have to talk to Lindy, the costume designer, about the kind of, we have to warn
shoes.
everyone. It's like, come and try dancing with your shoes here, like um I mean, it's always like, it's definitely, there's always pushback, but then at the same time it's like it's got to look right. So
Yeah,
you have to find, I mean, there are, you can make cobbles out of rubber, but they always look a bit funny, and
yeah.
they when cars go over them they go squish.
Right,
So
right, right.
and then we have a tram as well. So it's important on those big backlot sets you consider the ground as well as just the facades. So
Well,
yeah.
do you?
Because
Oh,
because the Palais was also built with composite with the back lot, so you can walk from the town square directly in
oh
to
wow.
like it was all just one thing. So
Oh my God.
The Palais entrance was built to 52 feet.
Oh my
which at
god.
that time was as high as I went until last year. So-
Um,
and then you walk into it, so it's like this hierarchy of town square, uh, shops to the serious chocolate makers, and they belong in this arcade that is the galleries, and that there's a sort of step up. Like we have to sell to the audience that you go in there, and you're if you can get in there, you're a serious chocolate maker.
right.
Yeah, it's the height of fashion of chocolate. In fact, I couldn't really find good enough references to represent that high form of chocolate. So we turned to looking at jewelry stores and
Oh,
Fabergé eggs and things like that. And that's
right.
what we basically looked at to give that sense of wealth and exclusiveness for the three chocolatiers.
Now, whenever there's like a party or there's destruction or everything, a lot of times they'll say, "Can we do that first?" and then bring it back. But I'm
They,
assuming on this one you couldn't, you did it in pro.
I don't say they tried. It was like the
They did.
AD. Remember, they are looking at their schedule and they want to make all the actors' dates work. So you,
I think originally it was the chocolate shop completely destroyed first. then then it was then full and then it was then empty. And it was like, oh my God, how are we
I
gonna
mean,
do
the answer you always give is like, that's fine. We need 3 sound stages. We need to build 3 times. It's going to cost a silly amount of money.
Right.
But the reality is you have to all work together and find the solution. And what that means is you get very little time to change sets over
The
because
changeover.
is to make that schedule work. You also have to find other sets to infill while we change over. So it's always a negotiation, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and the chocolate shop, it was literally going to be shot straight after Christmas. So it all had to be ready just before Christmas. So it was this complete stopwatch of racing actually towards kind of the holidays to get it all done. Because it was kind of like, I think we've been shooting for about 3 or 4 months then. So everyone was like going to have a break at Christmas, or
Right.
everyone going on holiday. And like we got it done. So when we came back, we literally just opened the doors to like the chocolate shop. And that was a
Oh,
brilliant feeling.
oh,
It was
that's
really.
great. And two, you weren't shooting it like the day before Christmas. You know what I mean? The day before the break, or like
Yeah.
2 days
Yeah.
before the break, and then you're like, ugh. Like just to come
Well,
back to a done set is always nice.
but of course, what Nathan was also, actually saying, and the install of the chocolate shop was actually a challenge in itself because we had all these masses of flowers that were put into these chocolate flower beds. And of course, what we ended up doing was that we ended up, I think we had them on trucks and like we wheeled them in because we had to then, I think we had to shoot the chocolate shop as the garden. Then it was then empty. Then it
And
was
then it was destroyed.
Yeah.
so we had
Oh,
to chuck things in and out. And as the chocolate shop was actually empty, we then prepped the burnt sections from using the
the
previous dress. So it was kind of like that was a race against the clock, that one.
Yeah, it's very complex, that stuff. But I think we worked out early that we needed to sculpt and melt a tree,
right, the
um,
tree.
and then slide that in. But everything had to come out in sections, not only for the changeovers for the camera. So all these stuff had to be wheeled in and out through the stage door, which is a logistical problem in itself, and get under cover so the crew could come in for
Right.
certain camera moves. So it was like there were night crews. The logistics of that set was all over the place. So
Was was
people on that stage all day and all night.
was the tree a scripted element, or was that like a design choice for you?
Well, it comes from Wonka's childhood. This enchanted garden. The canal boat is moored next to a willow tree that drapes over the water, and it's about his romance and his memory and nostalgia of his childhood. So
Hmm.
we had
And
the
it,
arts,
Mm,
and so we had to then kind of make an enchanted garden of his childhood out of sweets. And that was the journey, like how the willow tree it wasn't particularly beautiful as a sweet, so we had to turn it to a cherry blossom with giant cherries.
yeah.
So there were that the journey of the translation was it was good fun as well. I mean, we knew, things like I I loved it when we got the tree moving and for the dance number, because when it
Yeah.
starts rotating, it just adds another. We just up the ante. You come in, come with me, and
Yeah.
then in you go, and then they start dancing, and then the tree spins and he goes up it, and then the river moves as well, and it was sort of this whole flowing thing. And the river couldn't be chocolate because we couldn't step on the factory at the end, so
Mm.
it became theatrical.
It was so magical and such a great like excitement of this store that he's created. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Lee.
And there's also, the landscape, which is from his childhood memories of his life with his mother. Those themes where there's amplified and amplified and kind of amplified, and the whole thing is meant to be, it's like a landscape, right? Actually, Nathan, it's the
Yeah,
whole thing. Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's the journey of
But,
his child.
yeah, but we kept on like Lee had this great warehouse full of like garden chocolate development, sweet development, and you'd be in there going, I think I can make this look edible by doing this. We sculpt this, and then you'd have to break off bits and put real edible bits in. And it was very much a sort of organic process. It was right next to the stage. So, construction were building the set, and Lee was building all the edible plants. So it was like
Oh, wow.
we could go back and forth. I mean, I spent as much time in your warehouse as I did on the soundstage. And
And the rule was really easy. If you were to look at something and you felt like you couldn't eat it, then it was wrong. If you looked at it and you felt you could eat it, then it was right.
It's
It was simple as
appetizing.
that.
but
Did you?
you end up on stage and it's the tree's great, this tree's great, but what's the base? It's a bit boring. And then you go, well, let's make the base into a pie, So you know what I mean? It's like it's sort of you have to like, and then what's this? We got to get up to the tree because we got to get Willie up and climb it. And it's like, we got to build a little road. And it's like, what is the road going to be? It's like a Turkish delight. You go back to the sculpting shop. It's like, any chance you can make me some Turkish delight pavers?
Did you guys gain 50 pounds? I mean, it sounds like you were just like, oh, well, let's go see if a pie works. Like, and then, pie in the office in the afternoon. Like,
And Gabriella, the
I would
chocolate
have
maker,
loved it.
rationed it.
I would have loved it. Oh my God. I, number one, I was really glad that there wasn't some sort of like psychedelic boat scene from the other Willy
Oh,
Wonka.
yeah.
I was really glad there was none of that going on. But I was wondering, since your theme is chocolate, which is you're gonna have browns, what else? I mean, now you had a lot of pinks with the cherry blossom and everything, but how much how many browns did you have? Like, how many?
I mean, that's why the river's blue. That's why it's like,
Right,
blue
right,
and brown. So again, it's like standing on stage and trying different colors. It's like, oh God, I can't see anything because it's all mush. You have to pick things out. I mean, we stood Lee in your shop and say, okay, we want more oranges, orange
Yeah,
color.
no, it's true. Yeah, and
right.
you could see all the colors pop. And we tried different textures, and I mean, we did try chocolate grass, and it just looked awful. It just
Yeah, I can
just
see that.
didn't work. I was like, okay, so we won't do like chocolate turf. It looked, and we just did smooth mounds with ripples in them, and like kind of caramel bushes that were actually 2D, because we didn't want everything to feel like a 3D object. Having 2D shapes was equally as good as like a 3D shape, and
Right,
so and as I said, through processes of actually using, we couldn't, some of it was actually salt, some of it was actually a sugar, but through glazes and paint, you actually got to work out what colors would work. And then we combined dark chocolate and milk chocolate and white chocolate. And so you get different levels actually within each space on each mound.
was it no, I'm blanking, but was it Wonka that you had you had an art a set decorator art director?
Me?
Yeah. Was there
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yes, we did, yeah, yeah.
So
Laura Ing, yes.
I first of all, I saw that credit and I was like, well, I like that.
It was
That's
really
gotta be
helpful
helpful,
because
man.
I just knew that the art department were going to be really busy, and we had some really complicated makes that were going to come our way. Like the Wonka washer.
Right.
That all fell, and in my world, and I just knew I needed someone with a technical mind to get us through that. Someone who would be better than me. And Laura Ing was absolutely the right person, and she was able to actually, even though I found each of the objects as I went around, and we gave guidance to how we were going to draw it. Laura actually took all that and just ran with it.
I really applaud you. I don't know, I'd never noticed that title before, and I was like, that's genius because that can only make your department stronger in delegating and helping facilitate all of these things. And with this, especially, you were creating so much and having so much made that I was like, wow, that's so smart. So smart.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah. What two?
Well,
Oh,
I mean, all I'm gonna say is there's usually just one decorator and there's about 16 art directors. So if we get if we can help one of us,
we get one.
yeah, we get one. But everybody's busy, so it takes a village.
I mean, Nathan's team were flat out on this job, and he had a bunch of brilliant people. But each person was actually just on one cell, or like another. I just needed a little bit of help just for me.
Yeah, of course.
Also, you have to talk. The thing about Laura, she needed to talk to special effects because a lot of those rigs had to get made, and she had to keep an eye on them. And then the carriage that goes, the basket has to be motorized and go round because it was a whole system where it had to flow around from place to place. So everything, that relationship of making sure all the departments are heading towards that. I mean, I think Laura like kind of lived in that laundry. I think I was all the time.
Was
Sorry, if you can hear that noise, Teddy's just got home, so that's my dog. So
oh,
if you hear squeaks, that's him.
oh,
Sorry.
mine's sleeping under the bed, so he's usually pretty quiet. So don't. Um, with the Oompa Loompa box, the little suitcase. Was that props? I was like, is this all props because it's all, or is that you? Is that because you
No,
decorated that?
it was all Jamie Wilkinson,
Mhm.
but actually, we went out when we were on like a buying trip to like the markets and things. We would just pick up a bunch of stuff as like we found it that could be interesting to either to build the box or to build the trap, and then we just gave all this stuff to Jamie Wilkinson, sorry, and his team, and they basically did this as a sculpt, and they actually built it piece by piece, and like they
Oh my
tried
gosh.
stuff. Some things worked, others didn't, and then the chocolate box itself, that's all built as a hand prop, and it actually did work. It completely functioned, and that's all in camera.
The chair and everything? That, I mean,
Yes.
other,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's so great.
He has all
It's
these
so great.
it's like levels of scales. Jamie has these almost they're like watchmakers. They do all these mechanics and like the little flag that pops out and the chocolate thing opening. All that is done in camera and it's done by these quite incredible mechanical watchmakers. Like when you go into the shop and they've all got they're all big glasses on.
It was a team. It was a little team of 3 people just doing the chocolate box and all of Wonka's hand props,
Oh, wow.
and they built everything in about 18 to 20 weeks.
Wow, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous piece of like machinery that's just
And the chocolates did come out of it, and you could eat all the chocolates as well. There's even better.
oh my gosh. This sounds like the best project ever. Like this, I gotta say, I know it was probably really hard, but it sounds like just an awesome place to work every day of like interacting with chocolate. I mean,
A joy. It was a joy. It
Yeah,
was
it's
so
brilliant.
much. It was so good. Like everyone has to do these kind of films,
yeah.
because sometimes you do these sort of dark thrillers, and you kind of go with that mood. But this is just happy, happy,
Yeah.
and funny. The actors and the comedians, and they're
Very
just
witty.
funny.
Yeah.
Keegan in his fat suit is hysterical.
Yeah.
It was just, and the dancing in the secret lair when they burst into, you've never seen chocolate like this before. I mean, it's just hysterical.
And like Olivia Colman was so lovely. We only
Eh,
had her for like a short time. So all of the scenes were all put into a block and she was hysterical on set. I mean, literally that character, I hadn't read that on the page of what that character was actually going to be like. And actually seeing you, oh, that is so right. And it's so perfect. And she's so brilliant in it.
I
Yeah,
love those.
Glee with his lederhosen. I mean,
Yes. Ah, he
I mean,
nailed it. That man, he went for it.
he turns up in his lederhosen. I mean, that's hysterical for a crew, you know.
And two, how they like started to get together and like the lingerie and like, which also just popped. Like it seemed like they put more color into their costumes and wardrobe and as against that background, it just made it so much better. It was fantastic.
Lee would go down to costume constantly. I remember you were
Yeah.
like, you would you double check everything, which was great. Which he likes a cup of tea, so if you're going down to costume, you're there for a little while. So
Exactly.
whilst you're there, you got to time it perfectly.
Lindy does love a chin wag. That's absolutely true. Actually, one of the first things which we did was to work out each of the chocolatiers' colors, so green, blue, and yellow,
Mhm.
and they were the first things which we actually came up with, and then all the chocolate boxes came from all of the costume,
Oh, wow.
and and then we ran with that.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you, I mean, there's obvious pieces, but was there anything specifically from a book that you had read or a detail that was in the previous films that you put in as like an Easter egg, like a little gem for a viewer?
There was early forms. I remember reading about the chocolate factory, and I think we lifted from there like something like the chocolate bushes and like mints and things, and there were elements I can't quite remember, but there were certain things which we took, which and we made them early versions of them, which we then put into the chocolate shop.
Mm.
I just can't quite remember which ones they were now.
Yeah, not not really for me. I mean, that 71 film stands by itself brilliantly. So we were in a sort of we were in his childhood or
Yeah.
his early years that leads into that. Like I think Paul King calls it a companion piece.
Mm.
I don't, it comes after us, so it's hard to then bring
Yeah.
anything back to it unless. I mean, for me it was like the riverboat really was Danny the Champion's caravan. Really, to
Right.
me, as it's described in the books, it was like, well, that's sort of Danny the Champion's caravan, isn't it? And so that was really the. I mean, I think you take from the books.
Yeah.
So the illustrations of the books don't really help you because they're character driven. So
Mm.
it's how you remember when you're reading those books. That feeling.
Yeah.
That's a real. There's some real reference there.
I mean, I only asked that because of them giving or how Timothy did the little walk down the steps and in the back, or like things with the cane and things like that, where it's sort of projecting of what he develops into. But I think there's so much influence of that candy shop and everything that you see that was influenced of just I'm sure the books and everything. I haven't read the books, but I'm
Think
sure.
you sort of soak it all up, and I think because you know it all, and then it naturally will come out. But I don't think it was intentional. There's no sort of intentional Easter eggs.
No. Yeah.
No, no, no. I don't we reference it that much. I did read parts of the book to find a kind of an element, and as I said, I think it was something to do with chocolate bushes or mint. I can't quite remember.
Do you think because I start to think this of uh, things that I reference are so old now for people getting into like they will see Wonka a lot of like, growing up and influence will see this before they see the other films and everything. And that influence because I mean that film influenced me. This magical world that this man and eating set dressing and all of that. So I think you've put out a wonderful project of inspiration here.
I think
In the 71 film, he's somebody that doesn't like the war, doesn't like people, but at the end of the day, he gives his entire
Yeah.
factory to Charlie, and it's the most heartfelt moment. Um, and so you realize, oh, he is, for me, it's like, oh yeah, Wonka, Timothy's portrayal of it is just he's this sort of wears the heart on the arm, and he's just thinks a little differently, and he's loving of everything. So it's like I think that all sort of comes out at the end.
Well, I
For
think we
me.
need another movie to find out why he hardens up. I think.
he's completely wide-eyed and he just wants to make the world like a better place. And I think what Paul King's done with this film, I think he's made a really classic children's film. It's slightly old-fashioned. You don't normally get films like this really anymore. And I think, you know, it's a perfect tonic, and the perfect Christmas movie.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but like
Oh, yeah.
Paul did the line dance in the town square.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just like, well, who does a line dance these days? It's-
And a happy ending is what we all need. This happiness, it's gonna go on and we're gonna, and noodle and it's
I
beautiful
mean,
ending.
who doesn't cry when you go to,
I cried.
you know?
I totally cried. I looked around, everybody was crying, so I didn't feel so bad.
And then
Everyone I
And
know.
hopefully eating chocolate as well, right?
I know. I did get some chocolate with my golden ticket, so yeah. Are you guys, I mean, you did this a while back. Are you working together now? What do you
Yeah,
do?
we just finished a really small
A
project.
really small one? Yeah, I'm sure.
We did
Another
Cupid.
magical one.
Here's another musical. So,
Much.
and that was vast. So,
Yeah.
It was
What Wonka feels like a film with songs actually in it. Wicked is
is
basically a full-on musical.
yeah. Yeah.
It's very
I
special.
I cannot wait to see that. And I hope I hope I get to talk to you again about it because it just I've seen it on Broadway. I've seen it. I mean, I've read it. It's fantastic. I can't wait.
the problem with Wicked is like, you have to actually make the Wizard of Oz to show the other side of the story. So it just became, our naivety, optimism as usual. It's like, yeah, let's go and do Wicked. And he was like, oh my God, we've got to do the whole background is the Wizard of Oz. So you got to do Yellow Brick Roads and
Yeah.
Emerald Cities. And it's like,
Well, that's the best part, isn't it?
yeah,
You get to
it
do
was actually, it might have been one of my favorite films to date. And Wonka was right up there. So
Mm.
Yeah. It was brilliant fun to work on. It really was.
it was great. I
I
have to say.
I spent all of last year at Sony and on stage 15 where they did The Wizard of Oz. And
That's
outside a pipe broke under the ground and they had to like take up the whole little street, little alley and everything. And we were like, what if there's munchkins under there trying to get out?
Yellow Brick Road is under there.
Yeah, what if
You
they
know,
find
uh,
some like because the trap door is still there and everything from when she fell down the floor and everything. It's fantastic. Yeah.
that stage used to have a glass roof.
It did? Oh my God.
Yeah, it used to have a glass roof, and that's why it's so long and low.
Yeah.
Was because it used to house a glass roof, which is a great shame it's not there anymore. That's how they used to light it. So
Oh my God. Yeah.
it's huge. It's like 270-foot long or something.
Oh, I know.
So
I had about 6 sets on there. I know, it's huge. It's
yeah, it's
ridiculous.
that's what Sony and MGM basically. That's what I love about our studios. All the stages are different sizes because you need different size stages for different things.
Yeah.
And and it's like, oh yeah, of course, it makes complete sense. And they kept them and it's good. It's film stages.
Yeah,
So
and they actually just, like, reinforce them all at Sony and everything. They're really, like, trying to upkeep them, which is nice too, like, sound-wise and everything. It's like yeah, there's nothing like being on a lot, like, to me. Like, Warner Brothers and Universal, like, I love being on a lot. I love
I
it.
think I have a thing. I could be wrong. On stage 27, they did Key Largo, but they did the whole water. Yeah, they
With the
did it all on
pool, there's a
stage.
pool there, right?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they drive across, on the motorboat. You know what I mean? It's like all done in camera. It's like what?
Yeah.
You know what? It's kind of, I think when you go to a stage door and you step outside of it and you're in this grey parking lot and you open the door, you walk in and you're transported into like another world, like a different period, whatever it is. That's a magical moment. That's probably the best part of our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And inspirational to walk onto someone else's sets. I said, like, just seeing,
I
like,
love seeing what other people are doing.
oh, I love it. I walk onto sets all the time. I don't care what it is. Really, I don't care. I just want to see what you're doing in there. Like, you know, there's a million people on stage. They're not gonna kick me off. I just want to see what's going on. I want to see these
All
sets.
you need is like a white painter suit, and
Yeah.
that'll work forever.
We all have our uniform. We all know. We all know who's a grip and who's a decorator in costumes. You can
Yeah.
point people out pretty
Wear
much.
some shorts and Converse and high socks, and you're in.
Yeah,
But you
there
might
you
be
go.
asked to do something.
Thank you so much. This was so enjoyable. Thank you for being so informative about all of this. And I love the film. I love all of your work, as I said. And I wish I had another 6 hours with you. I'd really dive deep. I would love it. Interstellar is really one of my favorites. And I mean, Star Wars. I'm Maleficent. I don't know. I don't even know how you do it. I don't know. If you ever need a
It's an awful lot of help. An awful lot of help.
Well, I'm in LA if you need any help, so I'm here. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Congratulations on the film. I hope it's recognized. I hope so. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
guys.
you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Could you imagine someone coming in and eating the set? I mean, I would freak out. I would be so pissed. But what a fantastic, whimsical project to be on. And talking about the Oompa Loompa cases and Wonka's chocolate case that they actually worked, that made the pieces of chocolate, that is fascinating. I thought it was all digital, at least some of it. So I love all the details that they gave in this interview. And I am so thankful to them for giving me time in their busy schedule and holiday season. So thank you so much, Lee and Nathan. I really appreciate it. And I'm a total dork, and I loved talking to them. And selfishly, I really, really wanted to talk to them for another couple hours. Just talk to them about all their projects. Could you imagine? Could you imagine, like, that career and those credits and a lifetime of that type of design, and Gladiator and Batman and Star Wars? Like, it's crazy. I'm jealous, and I probably will never get to do that. I hate to say that. I wish I could, because I want to create all these things. But I really would love to be a part of something that big and impactful. Not to say the projects I work on aren't, because I've had plenty of people say, I love that show and what a great job, and I'm profusely humbled by it. But wow, what a career for both of them. Bravo. I loved Wonka. As I said, I watched it twice. I would definitely watch that movie again, and I feel like at the times that I have watched it, I picked up more and more details. So again, thank you to them. So happy holidays. I don't know yet if I have another episode in me, but I do have the production design film study next year. Again, 1950, fantastic year, with Sunset Boulevard, All About Eve, Samson and Delilah, Annie Get Your Gun, Destination Moon, and The Red Debonair, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong. And that film, I never would have watched that film. I'm really glad I did those. Some great, really plain sets, and then like these intricate sets towards the end. It's crazy. But Sunset Boulevard, I mean, that's a case study right there, right? Now that's what it is, a production design film study. So I hope you got an earful this year. If you missed some episodes, maybe check them out in your downtime. There's 50 of them this past season. So thank you. Have a wonderful holiday. Have a happy new year. and I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages.